What Ferrari didn't show you after Austria is exactly what Hamilton decoded for Silverstone. During the cooldown lap in Spielberg, after a quiet but calculated P5, Lewis Hamilton said just 6 words on the radio: "Now we know what's under us." No celebration, no frustration, just a cryptic confirmation, as if a code had been cracked. At first glance, it sounded harmless, a veteran reflecting on a weekend of data gathering it. But insiders heard something else entirely. Hamilton had just exposed the SF25's true breakthrough, one Ferrari tried to disguise as just another upgrade. This wasn't about points, it was about power. And that floor upgrade in Austria, it was a test, but not just for the car, for trust, for hierarchy, for the real direction Ferrari is about to take, starting at Silverstone. And that clash with Adami, that wasn't a disagreement, it was the spark of a power fire. Because what Ferrari feared most about giving Hamilton full control in Austria might become unstoppable at Silverstone. They called it a clash. But what happened between Hamilton and Riccardo Adami in Austria wasn't a simple strategy dispute. It was a territorial battle. Live on team radio, Hamilton pushed for a 1-stop, Adami insisted on 2. On the surface, it was just a disagreement about tyres, but when Hamilton resisted, something else bled through: defiance. Here's the full quote that didn't make the broadcast highlights: "If I stay out, I can make this work, trust me." But trust at Ferrari is transactional, and that's the problem. The moment Hamilton pushed back, the tone changed. Adami's responses became colder, less suggestive, more directive. Ferrari didn't want input, they wanted compliance. When they finally boxed him, it wasn't a compromise, it was a shutdown. But why does this matter? Because that moment revealed a truth most fans missed. Hamilton isn't just adapting to Ferrari, he's reshaping it from within, testing boundaries, forcing the team to justify decisions they once made in silence. And that tension? That's the sign of a shift in influence. So when Hamilton said, "Now we know what's under us," it wasn't relief, it was a claim. Not a press release, a coded takeover, and at Silverstone, he's ready to make that control undeniable. Let's strip away the per smoke. The so-called step forward in Austria wasn't just about a new floor, it was about ownership. Ferrari's deputy team principal, Jerome D'Ambrosio, claimed the upgrade delivered what it was supposed to deliver. A calm, sterile statement, too calm, because behind that upgrade was a silent war over setup philosophy. Sources in the paddock suggest this floor wasn't born in Maranello's traditional design loop. It came from a parallel development path, influenced by a growing group around Hamilton. Engineers who had worked under him, who understand his way of feeling the car, especially under low fuel, low downforce pressure conditions. And the telltale sign? Post-race telemetry showed Hamilton's corner entry stability improved significantly compared to Leclerc's, a sign that the SF25 was bending finally toward Lewis's demands. But Ferrari couldn't admit that publicly. Why? Because admitting it means admitting that Hamilton's driving style, not Leclerc's, is now shaping the evolution of the car. That's not just a technical update, that's a political detonation. But progress has a cost. Silverstone could be the weekend where Leclerc realizes the machine that once danced with him no longer speaks his language. 6 words, whispered, ignored, but devastating in implication. Now we know what's under us. To a casual fan, it's just a post-race remark. But inside the paddock, that sentence raised eyebrows, because Lewis wasn't referring to a tyre compound or to strategy. He was referring to something far more dangerous: control. Austria was a data trap. Ferrari thought they were testing an upgrade. Hamilton used it to test them. With every lap on that new floor, he wasn't just driving, he was gathering feel, balance, delta shifts, ride height behavior under fuel load, and by lap 47, the telemetry showed something shocking. Hamilton had found a new aero sweet spot in Sector 2, one that matched simulations from his Mercedes years, not Ferrari's database. So when he said, "we know," it wasn't a note of discovery, it was a verbal flag on territory claimed. In that moment, Lewis Hamilton stopped being a guest in Ferrari. He became the architect of its next phase. Because this floor, it's not just about grip, it's about governance. And for those who read between the apexes, it's clear. Ferrari is already casting its vote for 2026. If the SF25 now listens to Hamilton, what does it say to Leclerc? The answer, according to telemetry leaks from Austria, is chilling. It says nothing, or worse, it argues. Leclerc's car showed instability under braking in turns 3 and 6, areas where Hamilton found flow. The ride height delta between the two was significant, with Leclerc's setup bottoming more frequently under DRS-on scenarios. Engineers dismissed it as setup variance, but internal murmurs suggest something deeper. The car's balance point has shifted, and not toward Charles. And for a driver who built his Ferrari identity on precision, on being the one the car danced with, this is war. Because in F1, when the car stops listening, the team usually does too. The quiet smiles in Hamilton's side of the garage post-race weren't about a P5, they were about validation. Meanwhile, Leclerc left Austria without a public debrief, without media presence. Silent, not defeated, but unsure. Leclerc's silence wasn't surrender. It was displacement. That unannounced flight to Maranello revealed everything. He's no longer waiting for answers from the team. Ferrari says they're balancing 2025 performance with 2026 development. Translation, they're already choosing their future king, Saz. And this new floor, it's a prototype, not just of aero philosophy, but of political alignment. Because here's what insiders revealed. The current SF25 evolution is feeding directly into Ferrari's 2026 simulation rig. The ride behavior, the load sensitivity, the traction curve feedback, it's all being coded forward. That means every lap Hamilton runs with these upgrades sculpts the DNA of Ferrari's next generation car. And that, right there, is the real revelation of Austria. It's not just that Hamilton adapted to Ferrari, it's that Ferrari is adapting to Hamilton. So when D'Ambrosio said the upgrade worked, what he really meant was the shift has begun, not just in setup, in allegiance. And when the cameras roll at Silverstone, watch the eyes, not the smiles. Behind every scripted answer lies the fracture, a team performing unity while living a quiet civil war. While the cameras followed Hamilton's cool-down lap, something else was happening. Off-screen, but not unnoticed. Just hours after the Austrian GP, Leclerc's private jet departed for Bologna. Destination, not Monaco, not rest, but Maranello. No press, no team media day, just a closed-door session with Ferrari's lead simulator crew, the kind of meeting that only happens when a driver feels control slipping through his fingers. Why the urgency? Because Leclerc's side knows what the telemetry says. The SF25 is drifting toward a different rhythm, and he's no longer the metronome. Austria marked the third consecutive weekend where Hamilton's balance data was prioritized in overnight changes. For Charles, that's not just a red flag, it's a siren. Insiders report he requested clarification on long-term development direction, code for, am I still the center of this team? But here's the twist, Ferrari didn't say no, they didn't say yes either. They gave him data, raw, technical, cold, and in F1 politics, cold silence is often louder than a denial. Now comes the fallout. Because Silverstone isn't just a race, it's a psychological chess match where each quote, each setup tweak, each glance across the garage will betray who truly holds Ferrari's future. Silverstone isn't just home turf for Hamilton, it's a battlefield carved in legacy. And this year, it's not about beating Verstappen, it's about breaking the myth of Ferrari unity. The team will arrive smiling, but look closer. Hamilton's engineers have reportedly requested additional floor stiffness simulations, a subtle but telling shift toward his Mercedes-style feedback loops. Meanwhile, Leclerc's side is said to have escalated concerns to Vasseur directly, demanding clearer answers on why Austria's changes weren't balanced across both cars. And that brings us to the real danger, because when a team starts following two philosophies, it's not innovation, it's civil war. At Silverstone, the telemetry won't just show lap times, it'll reveal alignment, who the SF25 listens to, who it resists. And every breaking point, every delta gained or lost, will whisper a truth Ferrari can no longer hide. This is a two-driver team only on paper. In spirit, it's becoming Hamilton's Scuderia. So now the question isn't, can he win? It's more brutal. Can Ferrari survive the truth he's revealing from within? If you believe Formula One should be more than PR, if you want every coded radio, every suspicious silence, every power shift inside the paddock decoded, not ignored, then stay here, because this war won't be televised, it'll be exposed.